Hi, and welcome to podcast number 18. Yet another theme, and yet another issue, therefore, that's broad and embraces most of humanity. This time we're looking at the morality of the individual. Now, the morality of the individual may at first seem like a very dry topic, or something that's marginal to many narratives. And yet at the self-same time, when one actually analyses, for instance, soap operas, one of the underlying themes of most soap operas globally is the morals of the people involved. And many people look at soap operas on a day-to-day level in all cultures, be these Nigerian Nollywood movies, through to the great, American epics of Dallas, etc., through to the everyday of things like EastEnders, or something like the Globo soaps of Brazil. Here, all the time, the morality of individuals comes up. Should they or should they not tell someone what they know? Should they make this choice or that choice to favour someone over another? Now, these moral choices may seem small at first, but they're critical to everyone. Because no matter where you live, no matter who you live with, no matter the society you're in or the state it's in, the question of are you doing the right thing is always present. Do the right thing was even the title of a famous Spike Lee film, and it became a slogan for a while of many politicians. But the point here is that we live in a society where we know there are choices to be made between following the right course and the wrong course in relation to the society and the people we share our lives with. In order to make those choices, we look to narrative to provide examples, to give guidance, to set down parameters even. And this is one of the great debates, of course, with narrative. Does it contain a message? Does it lay down the law for people? And at one level, one can argue, well, of course it does. Otherwise, people wouldn't be watching it. But the truth is, when it comes to the morality of the individual, it becomes more overt than it is in, say, the pursuit of love or a desire for order. The morality of the individual really does confront the individual choices of the people in the audience in their day-to-day lives. Now, sometimes that moral choice is writ large in an historical context. So, for instance, it's very easy to see the moral choices facing someone like Schindler in Schindler's List, or, on the other hand, someone actually confronted with saving a child or not in sort of great melodramatic works of the past. But now, morality is much more difficult, and people therefore look to narrative to deal with the confusion they feel, the conflicts between too many rights or too many wrongs. Now, at one level, this leads us to a situation where many narratives set out very simple parameters. There's clearly evil on one side, there's clearly good people on the other, and we're actually brought to a position that the good people will win out over the bad people, pure and simple. And this is a very reassuring vision of the theme. And it's important because people need that reassurance that this can happen. Because when you're confronted with so many things going wrong in your life and people around you not making good choices, then clearly your choice matters. There is obviously some potential for confusion here with a theme that we've dealt with before, which is the desire for justice. So where's the boundary between those narratives that deal with the emotion around moral choices and our sense that we're doing or not doing the right thing and our pursuit of justice? Well, the simple point is this. In the pursuit of justice, one is actually dealing with systems, one is actually dealing with rules, and they're very much about the idea that an injustice has been done and there is a desire to see it corrected, something that we discussed earlier. The morality of the individual is not so much that an injustice has been done, it's that a choice has to be made between doing the right thing and doing the wrong thing. So therefore it's a totally different set of questions to be raised. And any narrative that focuses on the morality of the individual ultimately therefore is looking for characters who are making moral choices throughout the whole narrative. They're not pursuing one simple sense of justice. Now, this, of course, leads you into the fact that both of these themes work extremely well as the basis for thrillers. And often I think this is where many people become confused. There are the obvious moral choice narratives, like court cases, for instance, where it's very easy in a court-based room drama to actually set out the arguments as to who is right and who is wrong on a particular issue, on a particular action. And in this sense, fairly straightforward to spot the morality of the individual as the underlying theme. Much more difficult in an ensemble piece, where, for instance, you're dealing with a group of people who over time have to deal with the consequences of what they do. Sometimes this is explicitly dealt with in things like crimes and misdemeanors, or more obliquely in something like The Town. Now, all of these films actually are looking at individuals who have to make moral choices again and again and again. They are never allowed to move away from this central thematic concern. And it's this that gives the power to the film. Coming back to that central point about theme, it's not about story, it's not about individuals, it's about the fact that every single element reflects the core emotional underpinning. Once you've developed a narrative, you may have a romance story in there, you may have a plot line that's about injustice, but the point being is if in that romance and in that pursuit of justice storyline, you're actually dealing with the moral choices people make, then the underlying theme is going to be the morality of the individual. Now, some more recent examples of that, which might help focus you on this, are things like The Constant Gardener, where if you look at that, even the audience is put in an ambiguous position in relation to a couple of the characters as to are they a good person or are they not a good person at key points in the narrative. Or in something like Michael Clayton, where we're very clearly asked to side with the person who does some deeply immoral things, but ultimately is seen to be treated badly in the moral universe that surrounds him. Now, this is one of the interesting things about the morality of the individual. It's always dependent upon the culture and the time in which the narrative is constructed and the audience experiences it. It is no good us now looking back at films that were made, say, for instance, in the 1930s around morality and trying to picture that as us, because the moral choices we face now on a day-to-day level take place in a radically different environment from the choices that people faced in the 1930s. So narratives in this sense are related to their historical context, and possibly none more so than around the theme of the individual and their morality. So this is another big thing to bear in mind. Moral choices are always bounded in time, and narratives need to reflect that.